this. There we go. So welcome. Yes, I'm Kate Mudge and I'm with Care Farming Network. We are super excited to have you here today. This is our third monthly member gathering that we've had so far. And just like if you've attended before, we feature one of the member farms, a speaker from that farm, and have them do a presentation to share what makes their work as brilliant, exciting, and interesting as it is. Today, we have Croft Estay from Vertical Harvest with us. And she's going to just be walking us through Vertical Harvest's work, and she has a presentation to share. We'll take a pause in the middle of it and allow for any questions. So please, as you're enjoying the presentation, feel free to use the chat feature to put any questions that you've got in there. And as I said, we'll take a pause. We'll do some Q&A and then let Caroline finish up. I'm just really excited that she's here today because I think you're going to be pretty blown away by what Vertical Harvest is doing. So with all that being said, Caroline, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kate. Well, my name is Croft Estay, and right now I'm currently in Jackson Wyoming. That is where we have our farm, Vertical Harvest. Most of you are on the East Coast, is that correct? Okay. So we've got some different farming temperatures right now, because right now it's about 18 degrees outside and lots of snow. So that's just a little context of where our farm is. I am the Chief Potential Officer and co-founder of a hydroponic farm in downtown Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Well, let's start here. So I grow the people that grow the plants. I am not the one that grows the plants. And I came to Vertical Harvest via working for the state of Wyoming with people with disabilities. My background is in psychology work, education work, and really focused on working with marginalized populations. And for the last 25 years in Jackson, I've been working as a case manager and independent provider with adults and children with disabilities. The work that I did, whether through the educational systems, through some of the respite and at-home supports, really opened my eyes to the barriers that exist for people with disabilities, work barriers, mobility, accessibility barriers. And I came to a place at the turn of, as we were heading into the first recession in 2007, where I kept running into employment blocks for this population of people that I was representing and advocating for and providing services for. And at that time, I intersected with two other women in Jackson, Wyoming. And remember, none of us are from Wyoming. We're all East Coasters. And Wyoming is still very Wyoming. We've got cowboys, we've got snow, we've got buffalo. So when three women, local women, came together to pitch this idea of a hydroponic farm in downtown, hiring people with disabilities, it was a little bit mind-blowing for our community, but they supported it. And it took us about 8 years from the time that we met with the idea. And that really formed in a very beautiful way. We had one woman, Penny McBride, that's a sustainability consultant. So she, had been really championing in our community, having the local farmers markets and having year-round options for produce, because in Wyoming, we have maybe 3 months of growing. Nona Yahya, who is our current co-founder and CEO, she's an architect by trade, and she has a brother with a disability. And then, like I said, I had been working in our community for 2 decades working with the population of adults with disabilities, and was entering into that workforce niche. So the three of us did not know each other, met in the community, and this idea of a local farm with an inclusive workplace was born. We were then able to work with our local government, our town council, because for any of you that are familiar with Jackson Hole, it's the gateway to the national parks, and it's also home to many wealthy people. Teton County is the wealthiest county, I think, in the US, with the widest gap of wealth discrepancy. So what that also translates to is that 97% of our land is land trusted. So to get any sort of property in Jackson, you've got to be a billionaire, essentially. So for us to build a farm in downtown Jackson, we needed some partnerships. There was a 1/10 of an acre next to a parking garage. And we knew some people on the town council, and they said, this land right here, we're either going to put a dog park, we're not sure. It's up for community input. And so the three of us, Penny, Nona, and I, and again, this is around 2008, worked together to make our proposal. We want to put a greenhouse on this land. And after a few iterations in town council meetings, I think they thought we were going to do hoop houses. The approval process started. At that point, once we got in with the municipalities, we started working with our workforce services and Wyoming Business Council. So we were able to create a business model that was not a nonprofit, but it was for profit, something called a triple LC3. Not great branding, but it is a for profit with a nonprofit soul. Nona and I felt very strong about our business being a for-profit business. Why? Because we wanted the lens through the workforce of inclusivity and representation of people with disabilities to be seen as this is competitive employment. This is an equal opportunity. I am so grateful that we stuck to our guns because of that one decision in the beginning, which was challenging, and it presented all sorts of other complexities. We were able to really maximize building an integrated workforce in agriculture. We are now currently, fast forward to today, we have plans to build 15 farms in the next 5 years, all throughout the US. We are viewing ourselves as critical infrastructure. We are super local. We like to be right in the center of a community. We look at our farm as something like a library. It's something that can bring community together. The workforce model is a new way of approaching inclusivity and doing it through the fastest growing industry in agriculture, CEAs. We have a ratio of 40% of people identifying with disabilities. That's one of our initiatives. So that's really allowed us to tap into our community, traditional channels of finding our talent pools through the education system, through state and federal vocational rehab programs, again, a blended kind of talent pool. It's also allowed us to eat amazing microgreens and specialty greens and tomatoes year-round in Wyoming. So that's really my favorite part. During the last 7 years of operations, we have learned a lot. We focus on, at our farm, it's hydroponic. Our systems are all Dutch. Thomas Larson, who is an engineer from the Netherlands, he's who we initiated with. You know what I just realized, guys? Sorry, it's been a long day. I need to show my slides. Oh my gosh, I apologize. I'm so sorry. Are we ready?
We're absolutely ready. I
Thank
love
you.
I'm seeing the story unfold as you're telling it too. So it's very visual, but
Well,
slides
thank
would
you
be
guys.
fun. Your slides are great.
Okay, I apologize. Let's see. Now, I'm not great at sharing my screen all the time, but I think we got it. Oh, can we see? Yes? Okay, great. Quickly before, can everybody hear me? Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions? I know I was doing a little rambling. This is going to make more sense, but just off the get-go, are there any questions for me to start?
Haven't seen anything pop up in chat yet, so we're good to go.
Great. So at Vertical Harvest, we grow food and futures. And what, oh geez, I'm sorry, guys. I need now my presentation. I'm sorry.
No,
Oh, we got it. Okay. Nobody's perfect. Here we go. All right, food and futures. Who can argue with food and futures? What community could say no to that? Vertical Harvest is a hyperlocal controlled environment agriculture company focused on sustainable farms, foods, and futures. So we're local farmers first. And our social impact of having this inclusive model of employment is as equal as our business mission. Oh. Okay. So the problem, how did we get started in indoor farming? Well, as you guys know, I know this is a farming community, that we have a math problem right now in our world. By 2050, the prediction of population globally is 9.7 billion people. That means we're going to need an increase of 70% of our caloric intake for people to be at a, healthy nutritional space. It is also predicted by 2030 that we are going to lose 25% of our arable farmland, as well as we will have a decrease of 30% in our water supply. So we've got a math problem. I know you guys know this. And vertical harvest is one of the solutions. So growing food and futures, we grow 365 days a year. Locally, we have an omni-channel sales approach where we sell at local grocery stores, from ones that are owned, just in our region, to national brands like Albertsons. We are GAP certified, which is good agriculture practice, and that allows us to distribute to these bigger grocery store chains. I like to point that out because we were one of the first indoor greenhouses that were certified. And I believe that that is a huge testament to our workforce, and just that inclusivity and just the dedication. So when we opened our doors in 2016, we did not really know what we were doing. We knew a little bit about hydroponic farming because we were able to hire a head grower who was just recently educated, in his 20s. We knew a lot about the workforce that we were employing, and we knew a good amount about our community and its culinary needs. So that knowledge and the support from our community and our ability to fund this business, like I said, with private and public partnerships, really gave us the foundation for success, even though, again, 2016, not knowing how this is all going to play out. Fast forward 2 years, and we're starting to figure out how to grow the plants better. We're getting our nutrients dialed. We're getting our workflow processes figured out. We are building relationships with our community customers, like local restaurants and local grocery stores. And our employees at this point, we have about, currently today we have 46 employees total, but at this time we were at about 25 employees, again, with this 40-60 ratio. And all of our employees are thriving. They're growing, they're learning, they're working more, and this is across the board of the entire workforce. This was because of the Grow Well model. So the Grow Well model is our customized employment model that every farmer gets to engage in. So you're learning not just on, the best practices around farming, hydroponics, CEAs, you're also learning skills about yourself. We have a whole program called Be Well that focuses on these 7 universal pillars of health. These are all pillars of health that everybody can identify with: physical wellness, social wellness, emotional wellness. So yes, while we are farming, we are weaving in this content, this education, building this culture. As far as professional development, again, fastest growing industry, we're learning as learned by doing. We're learning how to be experts in growing specialty greens and understanding, the best medium to use on microgreens together inclusively. So we were able, through the professional development and upward mobility throughout the last several years, to really be a part of this growing industry, being on panels, doing case studies, and helping other national organizations develop best practices. So again, something we didn't expect when we opened our doors. The third piece of the Grow Well employment model is community. It's all community focused. It's called the Do Well programs. And every employee in our greenhouse is encouraged to be a part of community. Well, first of all, the farm is right in the middle of downtown. So that access to community opens that door. And then we have several programs and partnerships that are strategic, that give us opportunity to engage with community, with other local farmers. Even though we are not in the same kind of sales channel, we do not sell at farmers markets. That was something we said we would not do because we wanted to be able to support those local farmers. The community aspect of our business has also allowed a for-profit business to show community businesses you can hire inclusively. So we're also, we're an example of a different way to do business. That's what our Grow Well ecosystem and Work Well model is all about. So vertical harvest at a glance. 43 employees. This slide is a month or two outdated. I apologize. 50% that identify with the disability. Nona Yahya, like I said, she's our lead architect. And it is a woman-led company, which has been really fun too. And again, in this industry and in Wyoming, another way we've kind of disrupted some barriers. We built the first vertical greenhouse in North America. Currently, Jackson Hole will become our research and design farm. That's where we will test out different crop mixes, different ways of growing, as well as our workforce and employment model. We have broken ground in Westbrook, Maine, which is about 20 miles south of Portland. Spring of 2022 is wrong. We are going to be opening our doors in October of 2023. That just has to do with the pandemic, supply chain. I think everybody here can relate. And in the next 5 years, we plan to build 10 farms. How are we going to do this? We're creating a templatized model, like I said, that engages with the municipality of community using public and private partnerships and funds, and tapping into the marginalized workforce populations in those communities. So we're really excited because this model also brings in other community infrastructures. So housing, transportation, food systems, education. So we feel like our farm is kind of it's a conduit to really strengthen community, as well as remove barriers for the citizens in the community. And we did not expect to do all this when we opened our doors in 2016, which is pretty incredible. The pandemic elevated a lot of the need, as well as climate change. So we've been in the news a lot, which is kind of funny. We're like the little farm that could. Sometimes I forget how kind of well-loved we are. And it really is authentic and genuine. And I say that from a very real place. When we opened our doors, we also decided, while we were on a roll to just do everything out of the box and innovative, like having Dutch engineers and a workforce that was inclusive, run by women, we also thought, why not let a local filmmaker follow us around for 17 months and make a documentary about us? So there is a documentary called Hearts of Glass. I'm going to show you a 2-minute trailer that is on PBS right now. Another great way to help kind of get our story out. We won the World Changing Ideas for Fast Company in 21. We've been on the Today Show. And what was really cool last year, we were featured in Inc. Around CEAs. We were, you know, the big guys, not us. And the focus was on some of our employees, some of our farmers that have been with us since the beginning, that have disabilities, that are now, you know, operating and managing. So that was cool. All right, let's see. Hopefully this works. Sorry, guys. I may have to just go to this one. I'm going to show you a 2-minute trailer of Hearts of Glass, just so you guys can get a little idea of what it's like here at the farm. Can everybody see? Yeah.
So the phone, pick it up. What do you say?
Hello, this is Bagel Hobbit. How can I help you?
Yes.
This is a multi-million-dollar hydroponic greenhouse.
The goal here was to build something that was modern and really at a high level, technology-wise and yield-wise.
We have people with disabilities and people without working side by side, and everybody's being paid a competitive wage.
For Ty's ability in this nation, only about 12% are working. They're scared of things that you don't understand, that you don't know. And to stop that, you have to have experience. You have to have that integration, inclusion.
Nice. That was a really good break, Ty.
I think I loved the phrase a for-profit business with a nonprofit soul until we were a for-profit business with a nonprofit soul.
The tomatoes are looking a little bit sad at the moment.
So we just need to know, what can we grow best in these carousels? So that we can get good at something.
When you're getting fresh tomatoes in the dead of winter when it's negative 20 degrees, think about how cool that is.
We're probably about 2 to 2.5 months away from these guys fruiting.
All those of you who are red, point me at thee. Those of you who are green, I'm gonna wait till you're fully grown and come back to you.
This is 3 ingredients from vertical harvest: cheese, pistachios, and raspberries. Simplicity.
It shows the community what we can do was given the chance.
We have a lot of people watching. We have the town, the state, the community, New York Times, we have CNN. They're all waiting to see, will this project work?
So that gives you a little teaser. Now that's the first 17 months. So we now know what we are doing, as well as there's some things that are a little bit different, but a lot of the people you saw in the trailer are still employed with us. and have moved up, like I said, to different positions in the farm, and will also be part of our expansion throughout the US. So that's really exciting too. All right, let me get back to my slides. Any questions?
Caroline, there's a question in the chat here from Tammy Watson from Seawind Farm. She's interested in how you balance competitive employment and the need for your employees to maintain their benefits, Medicaid eligibility, and such.
That's a great question. So I have 25 years experience of being a Medicaid case manager and provider. That provided a lot of context for us as a business on how do we navigate, salary, competitive wages, benefits. Half of our employees receive Medicaid as their insurance. They have Social Security. So in the first few years, we set up our wages customized for individuals that maybe had income limits. And then other employees were able to either eventually work out of their disability benefits and open up things like ABLE accounts and be competitively employed, as well as then tap into our medical benefits. So we've been able to blend it. We have some employees that are doing it the traditional way and not accessing the disability benefits because of the barriers and restrictions around income. And then we have other employees that is, that's part of their income. Those are services that they need. And so we are working with them through providing disability counseling, connecting with our local DVRs so they have those resources. And then our plans for next year are developing more financial wellness curriculums so we can also educate all of our employees about their benefits traditionally and through social services. So there's a couple things going on all at once with how we're approaching this. Every employee has the opportunity for the livable wage, obviously competitive employment and benefits. That's where we're sticking to a traditional route. But again, customizing and working with those that have the barriers. My hope is that the more that we're able to do this, expose the barriers. For example, many people on these benefit programs, Medicaid and or Social Security, have income limits, and they're very tight and strict. And I don't know how anybody could live off of that. So my hope and my plan with our human potential department is to work with those government systems, not against, but how can we mobilize a new way of supporting, our citizens in the community that need these supports without penalizing them from being able to work full time or to work and receive the same wage as their coworker.
There's also a couple questions in here from Nancy Moore. She was noticing that in the brief clip, everyone seemed to be working so well together and helping each other out. The question is, do any or all of your employees with disabilities have job coaches or some support?
That's a great question. So we do, and again, this model, as we build it out, when we get to a community, we do a lot of pre-work, because coming into community, there are some things that are going to be similar across the United States. For example, in the world of disability, these state agencies that provide financial resources as well as job coaches for people that are seeking employment. So we want to have that, we have that relationship set up that we can templatize anywhere we go throughout the US, right? So we do have job coaches that are not they're not vertical harvest employees that can come to the farm and support our employee that they are working with. So it is something that we integrate in. However, what's been really amazing to watch over the last 4 years is that more and more employees each year are becoming naturally supported, whether it's through each other, peer-to-peer, and we are using less and less outside job coaches. In Maine, We will have 50 equivalent full-time employees and produce 2 million pounds of produce. We will work with some of their local agencies and job coaches, but again, that same goal of everybody working themselves out of a job, the job coaches, so we can have truly naturally supported farms. We find that a lot of people come to the farm for the plants and they stay for the people. So again, we want to strengthen these traditional models like the job coach, DVR connection, but then build and model our own within our business of natural supports. So again, switching that lens of, oh, this person has a disability, they have to have a job coach, to their job coach is their manager, right? Or their lead. So doing both of those at the same time. To be a job coach with Vertical Harvest, again, you're not an employee. So we've gotten creative with just some agreements, withstanding our culture. Culture is a huge thing at our company. Like I said, through this Grow Well model, the beginning of how we started, you know, we were just this little misfit team trying to get this farm off the ground, and we did it. So culture really is at the base of everything we do. So we are welcoming everybody in, whether it's a job coach, a volunteer, a customer, but again, aligning with our values and mission is really the only prerequisite. So we've also found that our model has, I don't want to say inspired, but it's offered other alternatives for other businesses and or people in our community with disabilities, looking at the job coaching lens, as well as, hey, I have the opportunity to work here and can be naturally supported. So that's been a fun evolution for me, being in this field of workforce. All right. So right now, product line, what do we sell? Lettuces, petite greens, microgreens. We do have tomatoes in Jackson. We can grow vining crops. However, in Maine, we will not be growing tomatoes. So this is the farm in Jackson. We're on 1/10 of an acre, and we can produce up to 100,000 pounds annually. Again, like I said, specialty lettuce, petite greens, microgreens, and tomatoes. Farm 2, Westbrook, Maine. You can see this farm looks much bigger. It is 5 times the size of our farm in Jackson. Again, 2 million pounds. This says 1.4, but it is 2 million pounds of produce. And we again partnered with the municipalities of Westbrook. And so the farm is on city land. They are also going to have a parking garage that the city is going to build next to it, and affordable housing. So again, our farm is going to be linked into a community that's going to also build out transportation systems, housing systems, and retail systems. So that's another way our farm can kind of feed off of other community infrastructure, and it gets everybody to work together. So we really do believe food is our medium for meaningful change. It's something that we all share. We all have to eat, and we're all learning, you know, to eat microgreens together. So this slide, that was me a long time ago. But again, my background, I've been with the state of Wyoming as a case manager for 23 plus years. I've also worked with at-risk youth, and I got my BA at the University of South Carolina many moons ago. So going back to our model of engaging a talent pool that includes people with disabilities, we also recognize there's many marginalized populations. There's many community members throughout the US that need that opportunity to work, that need that support and champion of breaking down barriers that they may be interfacing with housing, transportation, all of it. So again, our goal eventually is this model becomes a community model, and we really strengthen those channels of nonprofit, of financial institutions through our farm. So we were people-centered right from the start. This picture was taken right when we broke ground in 2015. These are some of my coworkers and friends. And we focus customized employment. Everybody, whether or not you have a disability, identify with the disability, has the opportunity to have customized employment. We define that as looking at everybody individually, their strengths and abilities. How does that match up to our farm's needs and which department? We are a farm, we're also a business. So we're developing this inclusive piece through our business development, as well as through our sales channel and now our marketing. So again, now we are able to kind of expose this inclusive workforce outside of the farm, but staying in our company. These are, again, some of my fun co-workers. There's a picture on the left. This is our kickball team. So when I talked about the community programs earlier, the Do Well programs, there is a kickball team in Jackson every summer that anybody that wants to join can through the local rec center. And 3 years ago, we said, let's join, let's do it. Let's have a vertical harvest kickball team. We were the first integrated kickball team in a town, which was pretty cool. And the cooler part is that we were able to passively advocate and kind of be an example for our community through our kickball team. How did we do that? Well, games were every Friday. Everybody at the greenhouse showed up. They didn't have to. They chose to. We didn't win a game. We just did last year, by the way. It took us a little bit. But how we did this differently is we showed up authentically and we played. So when one of our employees missed the ball time after time and the other team kind of felt bad for him and said, no, go ahead, Leonard. We said, no, he's out. So we were able to model through playing a community sport in our tiny little Jackson Hole town that we're all friends, we're all people. We're all going to approach this the same way. So again, more than just a farm, other opportunities that we have ripple affected are found or built through engaging community activity. That's been really fun. We did power through the pandemic. I am proud to say we never shut our doors, which is incredible considering half of our workforce was at high risk. We went down to a skeleton crew of 8 and I wasn't allowed in the greenhouse for a year. It was really hard. We just had our skeleton crew and then the rest of us were remote. Now, the silver lining in that was we saw that we could manage remotely, which then opened up what we knew we wanted to do with expansion is have farms throughout the US with a headquarters in Jackson. So those were some of the positives that came out of it. Just wanted to look at my time. Does anybody have any questions?
We have a few questions in here.
Okay.
One, let's see, I missed Woody's question. What does CEA stand for?
Controlled Environment Agriculture. Thanks, Woody. Indoor farming.
Another question. What percentage of your employees with disabilities are full-time and what percentage of non-disabled are full-time?
That is a great question. So again, another barrier, hours worked. There's 2 ways to look at that, and then I'll give you the number because it has varied. Right now, we have, and I don't have the exact percentage, but I would say a fourth of our employees with disabilities are able to work full-time. So when I say they are able to, that is because either their Social Security benefits or Medicaid, they don't have those, so there's no barriers or restrictions, and or just stamina or desire. So we have seen an increase in our employees' part-time hours that identify with the disability throughout the years. People are working more, wanting to take on more hours, wanting to cross-train. But again, as we continue to iterate, as hopefully the world continues to change and these barriers in some of these social services are revealed, we can find solutions through kind of what we're modeling out, right? So working with people, customizing it so they can get the hours they want, need, and the professional and upward mobility.
Caroline, you talked about employees with disabilities working remotely. What did they do during COVID and working remotely?
Did a lot of Zoom. We did. So the Grow Well model, you know, professional is the workplace. Obviously, we weren't farming, so we did some deep dives into microgreen master classes. We worked a lot on our wellness. We worked a lot on our advocacy, and we're able to develop our own DEI program. A lot of it was an opportunity, as sudden and awful as it was, but it also really elevated this opportunity to see how we are more than a farm. And that goes into the advocacy piece, you know, the development of this employment model. And I see more of the remote work as we expand the farms and more opportunity for people with people with disabilities. The other piece too that we're doing is bringing tech and people together, as opposed to replacing people with tech and or just using people. So really elevating all of our like our packaging processes, or the way that we are doing inventory, having that intersection with digital literacy and technology, then that also is providing yet another skill, you know, congruent to farming, which is kind of cool. That's been fun. Growing well, lessons learned. So person-centered first. We look at everybody has the opportunity for a growth mindset, all of us. Emotional intelligence is something that we focus on a lot through our VH values. We also say real talk in real time. So what does that mean? Great example. Right when the pandemic happened, the Black Lives Matter movement happened, language, labels, that, you know, this is the discussion on everybody's social media feed. People with disabilities, differently abled, what, you know, how do we identify? And it was one of those moments where I said, oh my goodness, I'm the one that's been deciding. I haven't even asked my employees that have disabilities, which do they prefer, people with disability or different abilities? So we did a poll, 50-50 split. So again, that was a moment where now everything we do through the training lens, through language, always goes through an inclusive representation process. So real talk means we tell the truth. We tell the transparent stories. We tell about the hard times. We tell about the good times. We don't claim that, you know, we've created something that nobody else can create. We claim that we are part of something and a movement of local food and people. So that's kind of how we do business here. Like I said, we talked about this earlier. Some of our challenges and opportunities moving forward are the barriers with our social services programs. Again, I'm not knocking them. I support them, but I'd love them to be more efficient and productive for the people that they're supposed to be serving. And then eventually more policy change for employment. The Employment First initiative, which states everybody has the right to work, regardless of their level of ability, really seeing that totally infused in business. These are just some stats. Many of you may know that I think this was done by Accenture. Disability inclusion champions outperform. So the numbers, everybody's looking for data, and it's coming. So companies that have improved their inclusion of persons with disabilities were 4 times more likely than others to have total shareholder returns that outperform those of their peer group. So customized employment revolution. Why do we feel that this is a good model for farms? Right now, as we know, the Great Resignation, people are working, they're working differently. It's an opportunity for us to give another way to look at employment, another solution to these inequities. And customized employment, like I said, it's just focusing on the individual, but again, aligning it with what the business needs. And we've really found it's been a great way to honor the individual. Again, all of our employees from farm associate to CEO, as well as it also provides an opportunity for that accountability piece. Which, you know, I think in this day and age, we've got a very blended approach of people that want to work, people that don't, learned helplessness all across the board. So when we are looking at the individual, but holding it to these standards of indoor farming, right? Food safety, the workflow process, it has really allowed people to elevate and be more empowered and have upward mobility. So if you guys want to learn more about Vertical Harvest, we would love for you to follow us on all the social channels. We do put out a great newsletter and you can get to know some of our employees, like I said, real talk in real time. And if you guys have more questions about our expansion process or would like to talk to any of our growers, I'd be more than happy to arrange that. And I'm going to stop sharing. Perfect.
Caroline, there's another question in here from Jenny at Homesteads for Hope. Startup capital, question mark. Can you talk a little bit? You mentioned it's a private-public partnership. Can you talk a little bit about what you're...
Sure. And so blended capital stack. Again, not a financial person, but I'll do my best to talk about Jackson and then what we see moving forward. So the town of Jackson gave us the land. We leased the land for them. There is no way, like I said earlier, wealthiest county in the US, we could have ever afforded that 1/10 of an acre. That's the municipality engaging with the city. Number two, looking at local or state or federal workforce grants and money that we can use to help start with training. Three, private investors. We had some local private people invest. And then four, we did something called a culinary circle. And this wasn't a money exchange, but it was also kind of a customer buy-in. So before we opened the greenhouse in Jackson, the culinary scene is very robust. We had 10 contracts with local restaurants that said, when we open, you know, we're going to buy X percentage of your produce. So that was another way for us to guarantee customers and that loyalty and commitment. So when we move to Maine, as we move forward, I don't know if you guys are familiar with social impact bonds, ESG, new market tax credits. Right now, we have a lot of opportunity to get funding that doesn't have to be necessarily slated for venture capitalist or nonprofit, but social impact funds. We are in the process of becoming a B Corp. And so how we see the future of our farms is using the model of partnership with municipality, as well as finding local investors, and then really maximizing opportunity for these new market tax credit bonds and or social impact bonds. So again, that's a whole new way to finance. One, because it's a new way in this country, and two, because no farm has ever done it before. There's lots of hurdles with it, just typical vertical harvest story. We go 3 steps forward, 4 back, 2 side, 5 forward again. But we are very hopeful by the end of 2023 or 2024, we will have a financial template that we will be able to use for all of our future farms, and also model that out for other farm networks. We are also working with the USDA and agriculture, USDA grants and energy grants, as well as those are coming online, figuring out which ways we can intersect, partner, and share information.
So I'm gonna encourage anyone that also wants to unmute and join the conversation and ask a question directly to do so. There's one more here in the chat that I'd like to ask. It's Deborah's question. Do your investors actually get stocks or dividends, or are they really just contributing and investing in people?
Well, we are, so right now with the B Corp, there's different ways. We're looking at becoming a public benefit corporation. Are you guys familiar with B Corp? No. Well, you're going to get familiar after this. Please Google it. I wasn't familiar too long ago either, but basically B Corp, do you know the brand Patagonia? Tom's shoes. Okay, so Patagonia is a great example because it's a very popular, successful brand, and they are making profits, but they are also committing to initiatives in workforce development, environmental sustainability, as well as community growth. So it's been an incredible, intense process going through our certification, but it also allowed us to look at what we've been doing these last few years as this little startup that could, and go, oh, our Grow Well model. Let's look at how these programs are, we're able to pull the data and see how those work with the workforce initiatives. Same with the environmental, we're as green as our energy is clean. That's a big deal right now, working on those metrics. And then again, our community low income, low access. So the B Corp process is going to be another game changer for Vertical Harvest because it's just going to prove out our proof of concept of our employment model and our canopy production approach. B Corp, I see as it's conscious capitalism, and I think we're going to see more companies going through the process to be a B Corp so they can access that profitable margin, as well as say, hey, we are going to do these things, and you know, we're gonna do these initiatives with everything we do, as well as have a model of stakeholder benefits. So right now, investors are not getting any returns on their investment. We do have some investors that have, you know, come to us just for the people, but they know that it's a slow grow. And when we turn to the B Corp, it will be more of a stakeholder benefit company, which again is pretty cool.
Very cool.
Lots of information. I apologize if it was all over.
That was fantastic.
On a personal note, I'm leaving to get in a car for 16 hours with my 20-year-old to drive to California to get her back at school. So it's been a bit of a day. So I apologize that if I've been a little bit frantic. But I hope the information at least resonated, maybe inspired, maybe sparked some curiosity, partnership, friendship, come to Wyoming. We are all about connection, community, and collaboration. And so I just want to say that open door policy, please check out our website and, you know, feel free to reach out and ask any questions if you have them after this meeting.
And I'll just end with a couple things here. This meeting has been recorded and will be posted on our website, on Care Farming Network's website, along with a link to your presentation. Is that okay, Caroline, that we do that?
Yes, Kate.
And you had mentioned with Hearts of Glass and then showing that trailer, we're having some discussions about potentially having a virtual viewing party of the movie. So stay tuned for that, maybe coming down the pike. Otherwise, gosh, everybody. And if you want an actual link to the slideshow, feel free to email me, or I can, you know what, I've got the chat here.
I was going to say I can put it in the chat too.
That would be great if you wanted to just throw it in there. Just a reminder to folks, these monthly member gatherings are happening on the first Thursday of every month at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So our next will be February 2nd. Tentatively, we're looking at some Care Farm members who focus, like do some trauma-informed work at their care farms. That's not 100% secured yet, but I think that is going to be our focus area in February. Otherwise, our newsletters get sent out regularly, and you can find lots of stuff about us online. So thank you for taking the time today to join us. Caroline, thank you. Safe travels to California.
Yes, hopefully we'll be there tomorrow. I didn't have a chance to get it in the link, so Kate,
We'll put it on our website within the next day.
Great. Thank you guys so much. And again, if any questions come up, please let me know. Woody, I look forward to talking to you later in the month, and I will be out your way before too long because I have a son in Virginia. So I'll have to come say hi to everybody.
Thank you again, Caroline.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.